Hi world, how you doing? My name's Fate, and this is my first YouTube experience. I've been called to YouTube by, Ron Paul. This guy's really motivated me. I've voted Democratic for the last 3 years in a row, three, elections in a row, and I really thought like I was, a true heart Democrat, but, I like to believe that, you don't elect the party, you elect the person, the correct person along. And as of lately, I've been completely disgusted by, mass media, CNN, and these other companies that, work to blackball, this great man. People call him crazy because he speaks the truth. He doesn't give you that political BS and curtails around the questions. He tells you straight out what he's going to do, what he's planning to do, and how he's planning to do it. He's got the answers. He lays them out plain and simple. He doesn't try to confuse you with fear tactics. Oh, the terrorists are going to kill us. If the terrorists are going to kill us already, we'd be dead. All right. This man said it best. You can't spread democracy at the end of a barrel. It just doesn't happen. All right. Nobody wants to be like us if we're not good people. And in order to be good people, we need to elect good people. Knowledge is power, and I'm asking the people of the world, the people of YouTube, to enlighten yourself. All right. I'm not saying that. I blindly follow this guy Ron Paul and be like, hey, I don't care what those other guys say. I'm still listening. I'm keeping my ears open to Obama and Hillary. But again, you're hearing the same jargon from every one of these guys. Everyone in the party sounds exactly the same with very minor differences. Whatever happened to striking differences? Where's our choice? There is no choice. We're picking one evil over a lesser evil. For once, we have a clear choice. It's, either that, war pro, political BS, let me run you around, let me not tell you the full story, let me not give you the truth, let me limit your liberties, your freedoms, with the Patriot Act, let me be able to spy on whoever I want, hide my trail wherever you want. Or we can vote for this guy Ron Paul, who wants to, push out all that freaking, BS or jargon. Not to say he will, but just the fact that, he gives that honest, hey, well, this is what my plan is. All right, his plan is to stop, the invasion of our privacy, the restrictions on our, right to bear arms, people are all like, oh, well, we can't bear arms because, you got kids shooting kids in school. We need to, restrict guns just to, law enforcement officers. Don't you guys read your history books? That's why we separated from, the British. It's because, they'd come, they'd sleep in our houses, they'd, take our wives, they'd, draft our sons, because they had guns and we had nothing. You can even take the history from around the world. You got feudal, Oriental countries like China and Japan, whose, kingdoms were, outlawed weapons, to where, farmers had to go to different measures, which is where the origins of, the martial arts come from. Martial arts were, used for farmers and, other people, who didn't have weapons to be able to defend themselves against people who did. This guy's trying to protect our liberties. He's trying to, wipe away, clean the slate, get us back to square one, get us back to a respectable country. Wipe away our debt. God, I remember when, 8 years ago, our deficit was actually on the way back. And this guy comes in and freaking blows all the money, gets freaking, bomb crazy. For God's sakes, people, did you guys see the third GOP debate? Everyone there, except for Ron Paul, said it, it was perfectly fine to use nuclear weapons. Has anyone ever seen what a nuclear weapon does to a population, let alone the world? Freaking fallout can travel for thousands of miles. If we drop a bomb in the Middle East, you know, we could irradiate California, let alone all of Asia, you know, this, you know, Russia, you know, and just think of the backlash. We drop a bomb, it radiates, you know, across, you know, 5 or 6 countries. Next thing you know, we got China breathing down our neck. You want to put that kind of, you know, power and temptation to people who are already willing to do that? I sure as hell won't. You know, that's why, you know, until, you know, I get something that, you know, discourages me, I'm keeping my tabs on Ron Paul. You gotta remember, man, it's for all you to decide. Remember, look forward to your future. Look forward to, you know, people who want to look out. You know, you gotta remember what this country was founded on. Freedom. Freedom. You know, if we wanted to be like every other country, we would have never separated from Britain. Because, you know, they were a lot stricter, and they restricted, you know, what our founding fathers, you know, felt was most important. And you know what? We're the longest standing, you know, government in the history of the world, and we're also the youngest nation yet to have such a streak. You know, I mean, people, knowledge is power. You know, don't believe me? Go do your own research. You know, all you're going to do is get shadows, cloak and daggers from all these other politicians. You want some straight answers? Go check out Ron Paul. Thank you for your time. And I hope to be talking to you later. Peace out, guys.